Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So today we're going to talk about Trestolone, also known as MENT. But before we get into that, I have to reiterate that I am not a doctor. Anything I say in these videos is for your entertainment purposes only. What you do with this information is completely and utterly up to you, and I am not advising nor condoning you to use any of the things that we discuss in any way, shape, or form. So let's get into this one. I know a lot of people have been asking me to do this for quite a long time. So, I follow lists of topics that I get brought up to, a lot and asked to do. And this has always been on my list, so finally getting to it for everybody. Now, let's just do a little quick background on it, just briefly. Now, it's actually a derivative of nandrolone, which I'm sure some of you do know and some of you may be surprised to hear. Now, this is the base steroid in DECA. Its androgenic, estrogenic character is actually pretty similar to those of Trestolone and DECA. However, follow me here, it's a synthetic androgen, all right? And it's 10 times more potent than testosterone. 10 times, all right? So significant here when we're talking about strength, which I'm going to get into. And you've heard me, if you follow me on the forums, you know when I talk about strength, and we get into that, I always bring up Trestolone, all right, being extremely strong. Now, Trestolone hasn't been around for a long time. It's picked up speed, especially mainstream in the last 5-6 years. It's been around longer than that, but I'm just talking popularity. It's really been picking up the last few years especially. Now, it was actually researched all the way back in the 60s. I know that it wasn't talked about back then, but it was starting to be researched back then by different pharmaceutical companies. Now, it was researched both as, possible hormone replacement therapy, which some people do actually use it for right now. I don't necessarily agree with that, but if we're just talking facts, some people do use it. And it was also researched as a male birth control drug. That's why a lot of times you'll see people saying they're using this as a male contraceptive, because it works extremely well in that manner. Now, although not really related to testosterone, Trestolone is the only steroid that is actually capable of sustaining normal male physiology in the complete absence of testosterone, including sexual functioning. So, quite interesting. Now, let's talk about some functioning here with it. Trestolone is going to give some similar results as testosterone, but a lot more profound, okay? Now, there's no doubt here at all that one's gains will measurably surpass, what's actually attainable with an equal dose of testosterone. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, all right? The results people have reported at times can be comparable to something like a D-ball or something like a Trestolone. It varies from person to person. Let me explain. There's going to be a lot of bulk here, but there's going to be some water retention because Trestolone converts to estrogen at an extremely, and did I say extremely high rate? All right? The results people, see are variant. Some people are far more estrogen sensitive than others, but even people that aren't estrogen sensitive do find that they are a little sensitive when it comes to using Trestolone. All right? Now, there's going to be less water than D-ball on the surface, even though it's going to convert to estrogen at a higher rate, which is nice. But you've got to control it, all right? Now, people do report hard, fast gains, all right? There's, a debate out there, I guess, that goes on whether testosterone and Trestolone should be taken together. I, for one, I always tell people you should run tests on every cycle. You should run tests on every cycle. However, with Trestolone, there's always exceptions to rules, and you don't necessarily need testosterone with it. I'm not opposed to it, but let me tell you something. If you're going to run tests with Trest, you need to keep that test dose low. We're going to talk about the Trestolone dosage in a minute, but don't be running 500 milligrams of testosterone with Trestolone. Not a good look. Not smart. All right, you're going to blow up like a water balloon. You're going to be full of estrogen. Don't do it. All right? I mean, you can try it, whatever. I wouldn't recommend it. Some people like to stack it with Tren. Once again, extremely extremely strong. So be very, very careful. I'm not saying you can't do it, because you most certainly can. What I am telling you is that you better do it with caution, and you better be a little more moderate and conservative in what you're doing. All right? Once again, everybody's different. Some people think they need everything under the sun. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that teaches you how to take care of yourself and how to actually use these without wrecking yourself and actually making gains without losing them. Now, let's talk about some side effects. Now, it comes in oral and injectable form. Now, it's very liver toxic in the oral form. The injectable form is going to work much better for you. All right, much better. Now, it has a lot higher feedback rate on the hormone system, and it also aromatizes easily, as I said, and it also converts to DHT. So for the most part, typical steroid side effects that you see with any other steroid are going to be present. All right, you know what they are: possible aggression, possible acne, possible hair loss. You don't know if you're going to get those things. They're all possible with steroids. All right, now you're going to definitely, please, I know if there are people out there that don't think you should never run an aromatase inhibitor, I'm telling you, you will be sorry if you do not run Arimidex or Aromacin with Trestolone. I'm telling you, there might be a few anomalies out there, but for the most part, you will be sorry. I'm not saying you got to run ridiculous amounts, but I know a lot of people that have had to bump Aromacin to 25 milligrams every day, and that's a lot. All right? I wouldn't even personally, I've discussed this. I don't use anything anymore. I haven't for some time. But I personally wouldn't even mess with Trestolone because I'm pretty estrogen sensitive myself. But that's for you to decide. All right? I can't make that decision for you. Now, remember, Trestolone, a lot of times it gets compared to Tren, but it doesn't have, typical Tren side effects. So there's no night sweats, no insomnia. There shouldn't be inappropriate amounts of aggression. There shouldn't be any loss of libido either. You should have an increase in libido with it. So now, one thing about it is it's pretty versatile. More people are going to use it for bulking, but you could use it for cutting. The water retention thing is what makes it a little bit more difficult for cutting. But if you control it, all right, and your diet's on point, you can still definitely cut with it. Now, I don't believe in stacking it with too many things at all. And if you are going to stack it, I would make sure that you're stacking it with lighter compounds. What are lighter compounds? Like your Anavar, your Primobolan, your Masteron. Things like that with a lot less side effects that aren't as harsh on your body, that don't convert to estrogen. Just, think about these things when you're stacking, if you're going to stack it. But it works completely fine on its own. Now, dosing-wise, I'm a little bit more conservative here with it, like I am with everything. I would say between 200 and 400 milligrams a week. I would not exceed 400 milligrams per week. I really wouldn't. I would tread lightly in that regard. So, everybody's different on their view of it. You could say that it's kind of like a cross between Test, Tren, and D-ball. That's really what you could say. I definitely don't think it's like D-ball in the regard of all of the water weight and things of that nature, but there is going to be some water and a lot of size, so I can see the comparison there, and I can see the similarities with Tren and also with Test. It's going to do wonders for you, but it's not the safest thing out there. We're talking about steroids. What exactly is safe? But if you're rating them on a system, I'd say it's on the higher end of stronger, which means generally the stronger something that you run, the more side effects that you're going to encounter. If you Trestolone acetate, 6 to 8 weeks, that's plenty. But, and you definitely need a full post-cycle therapy with this, okay? It's categorized as a male contraceptive. So think about that, all right? So, that's really Trestolone in a nutshell for you. I wanted to make sure that I covered everything because I know there's a lot of people that are wanting information on it, and that's what I got for you. So, I'm Dylan Gemelli, signing off.